Alleluia, alleluia, alleluia. Alleluia, alleluia, alleluia. O Filii et Filiae, ex celestis ex glorie, morte surrexit hodie, alleluia. Alleluia, alleluia, alleluia. Et pane prima sabbati ad ostium monumenti accesserunt discipuli, alleluia. Alleluia, alleluia, alleluia. Et Maria Magdalene, et Jacobi et Salome, venerunt corpus surgere, alleluia. Alleluia, alleluia, alleluia. In albis sedens angelus, felixit mulieribus, in Galilee est Dominus, alleluia. Alleluia, alleluia, alleluia. Et Ioannes Apostolus concurrit Petrus Citius, monumento venit primus, alleluia. Alleluia, alleluia, alleluia. O Filii et Filiae, ex celestis ex glorie, morte surrexit hodie, alleluia. Alleluia, alleluia, alleluia. Et pane prima sabbati ad ostium monumenti accesserunt discipuli, alleluia.
Well, good evening and welcome to our fourth Tenebrae Service. The word Tenebrae is Latin for shadows, and the purpose of the Tenebrae Service is to recreate the emotional aspects of the Passion story. So this is not to be supposed to be a happy service. So if this is the first time you've participated in a Tenebrae service, it's quite a somber service, and it's in fact I think Tenebrae means darkness, or it's a service of shadows. It's not a happy occasion, and if your expectation of Christian worship is that it should always be happy and exhilarating, you won't appreciate this service until possibly the second time or the third time you attend it. I personally have found it a really great way to prepare myself for the Easter, the Easter weekend, especially if you have a busy week. The Thursday night helps you focus on really the price that Jesus paid for us on the cross. It was originally designed for Good Friday, but it can be used on what often other churches or most churches call Maundy Thursday as well. Both services have long scripture narratives, which for this service are divided into 7, 8 or 9 parts. I think we're going to do 8. And each one assigned to a different reader. So we're going to do that tonight. This will be different to other years, seeing we're doing it online. But we'll be focusing on the candles. And I trust you take this time as a time of reflection. It's very much a personal reflection. But if you're sitting watching this in your lounge room or with your family at the computer, I would encourage you that you participate in it the same way as you would in the church building itself, and that is that we do it in darkness, very dimly lit. We do it in silence, and it's a very, very respectful, somber occasion, and it just sort of sets that tone for, I guess, for the ultimate price. It's all the events leading up to Jesus' death and his betrayals, and it's really quite an emotional service, one that I hope that you benefit from. So blessings to you from both myself and Emma. So from Pastor Gavin and Pastor Emma Brett. We welcome you to the service and pray that it touches you and helps you to focus on the real reason of Easter.
When evening came, Jesus was reclining at the table with the 12, and while they were eating, he said, "I tell you the truth, one of you will betray me." They were very sad and began to say to him, one after the other, "Surely not I, Lord." Jesus replied, "The one who has dipped his hand into the bowl with me will betray me. The Son of Man will go just as it is written about him. But woe to that man who betrays the Son of Man. It would be better for him if he had not been born." Then Judas, the one who would betray him, said, "Surely not I, Rabbi." Jesus answered, "Yes, it is you."
Then Jesus said to them, "All of you will be made to stumble because of me this night, for it is written, I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock will be scattered. But after I have been raised, I will go before you to Galilee." Peter answered and said to him, "Even if all are made to stumble because of you, I will never be made to stumble." Jesus said to him, "Assuredly I say to you, that this night, before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times." Peter said to him, "Even if I have to die with you, I will not deny you." And so said all the disciples.
They went to a place called Gethsemane, and Jesus said to his disciples, "Sit here while I pray." He took Peter, James, and John along with him, and he began to be deeply distressed and troubled. "My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death," he said to them. "Stay here and keep watch." Going a little further, he fell to the ground and prayed that if possible the hour might pass for him. "Abba, "Father," he said, "everything is possible for you. Take this cup from me, yet not what I will, but what you will." Then he returned to his disciples and found them sleeping. "Simon," he said to Peter, "are you asleep? Could you not keep watch for 1 hour? Watch and pray so that you will not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak." Once more he went away and prayed the same thing. When he came back again, he found them sleeping. Because their eyes were heavy, they did not know what to say to him. Returning the third time, he said to them, "Are you still sleeping and resting? Enough. The time has come. Look, the Son of Man is delivered into the hands of sinners.
Matthew chapter 26, verse 47 through to 52. While he was still speaking, Judas, one of the 12, arrived. With him was a large crowd, armed with swords, clubs, sent from the chief priests and the elders of the people. Now the betrayer had arranged a signal with them. "The one I kiss is the man. Arrest him." Going at once to Jesus, Judas said, "Greetings, Rabbi," and kissed him. Jesus replied, "Do what you came for, friend." Then the men stepped forward, seized Jesus, and arrested him. With that, one of Jesus' companions reached for his sword, drew it out, and struck the servant of the high priest, cutting his ear off. "Put your sword back in its place," Jesus said to him, "for all who draw the sword will die by the sword."
Having arrested him, they led him and brought him into the high priest's house. But Peter followed at a distance. Now when they had kindled a fire in the midst of the courtyard and sat down together, Peter sat among them. And a certain servant girl, seeing him as he sat by the fire, looked intently at him and said, "This man was also with him." But he denied him, saying, "Woman, I do not know him." And after a little while another saw him and said, "You also are of them." But Peter said, "Man, I am not." Then after an hour had passed, another confidently affirmed, saying, "Surely this fellow was with him, for he is a Galilean." But Peter said, "Man, I do not know what you are saying." Immediately while he was still speaking, the rooster crowed. And the Lord turned and looked at Peter. Then Peter remembered the word of the Lord, how he had said to him, "Before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times." So Peter went out and wept bitterly.
Pilate then went back inside the palace, summoned Jesus and asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" "Is that your own idea?" Jesus asked. "Or did others talk to you about me?" "Am I a Jew?" Pilate replied. "Your own people and chief priests handed you over to me. What is it you have done?" Jesus said. "My kingdom is not of this world. If it were, my servants who'd fight to prevent my arrest by the Jewish leaders. But now my kingdom is far from another place." "You are a king then," said Pilate. Jesus answered, "You say that I am king. In fact, the reason I was born and came into the world is to testify to the truth. Everyone on the side of truth listens to me." "What is truth?" reported Pilate. With this he went out again to the Jews, gathered them, and said, "I find no basis for a charge against him."
But the chief priests and the elders persuaded the crowd to ask for Barabbas and to have Jesus executed. "Which of the 2 do you want me to release to you?" asked the governor. "Barabbas," they answered. "What shall I do then with Jesus, who is called the Messiah?" Pilate asked. They all answered, "Crucify him." "Why? What crime has he committed?" asked Pilate. But they shouted all the louder, "Crucify him." When Pilate saw that he was getting nowhere, but that instead an uproar was starting, he took water and washed his hands in front of the crowd. I am innocent of this man's blood, he said. It is your responsibility. All the people answered, His blood is on us and on our children. Then he released Barabbas to them, but he had Jesus flogged and handed him over to be crucified.
The soldiers led Jesus away into the palace, that is, the praetorium, and called together the whole company of soldiers. They put a purple robe on him, then twisted together a crown of thorns and set it on him. And they began to call out to him, Hail, King of the Jews! Again and again they struck him on the head with a staff and spit on him. Falling on their knees, they paid homage to him. And when they had mocked him, they took off the purple robe and put his own clothes on him. Then they led him out to crucify him.
My God, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from saving me, so far from the words of my groaning? Oh my God, I cry out by day, but you do not answer, by night, and am I not silent? Yet you are enthroned as the Holy One, you are the praise of Israel. In you our fathers put their trust. They trusted and you delivered them. They cried out to you and were saved. In you they trusted and were not disappointed. But I am a worm and not a man, scorned by men and despised by the people. All who see me mock me. They hurl insults, shaking their heads. He trusts in the Lord. Let the Lord rescue him. Let him deliver him, since he delights in him. Yet you brought me out of the womb. You made me trust in you, even at my mother's breast. From birth I was cast upon you. From my mother's womb you have been my God. Do not be far from me, for trouble is near, and there is no one to help. Many bulls surround me. Strong bulls of Bashan encircle me. Roaring lions, tearing their prey, open their mouths wide against me. I am poured out like water. All of my bones are out of joint. My heart has turned to wax. It has melted away within me. My strength is dried up like a potsherd, and my tongue sticks to the roof of my mouth. You lay me in the dust of death. Dogs have surrounded me. A band of evil men has encircled me. They have pierced my hands and my feet. I can count all my bones. People stare and gloat over me. They divide my garments among them and cast lots for my clothing. But you, O Lord, be not far off. O my strength, come quickly to help me. Deliver my life from the sword, my precious life from the power of the dogs. Rescue me from the mouth of the lions. Save me from the horns of the wild oxen. I will declare your name to my brothers. In the congregation, I will praise you.
venerum corpus sugere. Alleluia. In albis sedens angelus, felixit mulieribus, in Galilee est Dominus. Alleluia. Alleluia. Et Ioannes Apostolus concurrit Petrus Scipsius, monumento venit prius. Alleluia. Alleluia. O Filii et Filiae, ex celestis explodie, morte surrexit hodie. Alleluia. Alleluia. Et pane prima sabbati ad ostium monumenti facesserunt discipuli. Alleluia. 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 Et Maria